Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. The purpose of today's lesson is to introduce you to our college application project. I know I've been referring to it as like the college application essay, but actually it's a little bit more involved than simply just writing an essay. We're going to be kind of taking a look at the whole project, at the whole college application process itself. So have the short little video tutorial, hopefully short, which is meant to kind of just give you an overview of the assignment. I'm not going to be getting into the specifics for this because there's multiple steps, multiple layers to this project. So there'll be subsequent follow-up videos, notes, and dates and whatnot that I'll go over with each one of those individual parts that we're going to do. But basically, what I'm going to kind of run through with you is the makeup of the assignment. So you have a copy of this. You're also getting a copy in Google Classroom of a lot of other supplementary materials. So there's a college essay packet that you can look at that'll also provide some insight. I'll have some other little brief videos, whether it's videos done by me and going over some notes or just some other things that have been posted to try to help you with college essay and other application elements as well. Understand that while this is a project that certainly has components that we're all doing, we also want to try to individualize it as best as possible for you so that it's going to be meaningful. So if there are some things that need to be kind of tweaked or altered a little bit to fit into what you are looking at your college application process being, by all means, let me know about it so that we can take care of that. But the main thing here at the beginning is that everything that we do with this assignment is basically going to get submitted through Google Classroom just like everything else. The only exception to that right now would be your actual college application essay, which will go through Turnitin. But everything else is simply just going to be going through Google Classroom as we normally would. So you should be pretty clear with what's going to be happening. Basically, your project is going to be made up of 5 different artifacts that we're going to be doing. And I've broken this down into 3 different parts. Part number 1 is going to be the college research. And so this is really the order in which we're going to go about setting this up. So for the first part, you're going to do an artifact where you research 3 colleges that you wish to apply. Now, I understand that some of you already know the one school that you're going to go to. Some of you may have already committed, done a verbal commitment to a specific school, based on scholarship offers and things like that. But still, everyone's going to be going through at least 3 schools that you would be interested in applying, regardless of circumstances. So, even though this might be something that ends up not being necessary for you, still certainly want you to go through the process. You never know what the future entails, and certainly some changes can happen. Although certainly I hope that any plans that people already have are able to follow through. But you're going to research what would be 3 schools that you would look at trying to apply to in the fall, and you're going to compile this research into a Google Doc, which I've already pretty much put together for you. So it's a chart. It's not really like an essay that you're going to be doing. But I do want you to list the schools in order of interest. So if you have 3 schools that are on your list and you haven't really thought about which one's going to be your ultimate number 1, at this point, I want you to think about it. Now, this doesn't mean necessarily that you're choosing the schools that you think you're going to be getting, accepted into or that you're going to go to. I think it's a good idea to go into to certainly apply for a school that you anticipate that you would be able to get to be accepted into, and it's a school that you want to go to. I think it's also a good idea to certainly kind of have some kind of, call it a backup school or a safety school, but a school that you're going to be able to get into. And if things don't work out with some other schools or finances or whatever the case may be, you would still be content to go to school there. So I think it's good to have basically a practical school that you think you're pretty certain to get into, but also a realistic school that you think that you have the aspirations to get into and you think you should meet those qualifications. So kind of think of the practical one as being a little bit more on the low end. It doesn't mean low end of prestige, but in the idea that you're pretty sure you're going to get into this one no matter what. And then a realistic school that should kind of meet your expectations and your qualifications. And then I think it's also good to pretty much have like that school that you're shooting for. Maybe it's an Ivy League school, maybe it's doesn't have to be Ivy League, maybe it's another one, but a school that you really don't think that you're probably going to get accepted into, but you want to give it a shot anyway. So it could be Ivy League, could be a school like Duke, could be a school like Vanderbilt, could be a school that's expensive. That you think you'd be able to get into, but the expenses of it are kind of keeping you from really wanting to go there. But maybe some scholarship grant opportunities would open up. So give yourself a variety of schools that you would be looking at getting into. So but you're going to compile your research, and basically these are all the things that you're going to be, taking a look at. So using university college websites or resources that are available, whether it be Princeton Review or College Navigator or even some things with the Common App, want you to find, all of this information 1 through 11 about your school, so you got a better sense as to what really it is that you need to do. On the second page of this document, and I realize I'm skipping over article number 2, I've already kind of set up a table that you can use, and I'll have this set up as a separate assignment that you can submit, that basically you have the preference of the schools that you would want to go to, and then you would be able to put in all the necessary information from the page before. So what's the location, what are some of the application deadlines that would be going on, and whatnot. So, first thing, what's the formal name? So, use the University of Pittsburgh. I don't want you just to put Pitt. Brady, you're going to put down Penn State University or the Pennsylvania State University. You're not just going to put down PSU. City and state as to where the school is located, and then what you would consider a description statement of the campus, urban, rural, if it's something a little bit different. In some cases, you might have what's kind of like a college town where the town is there because of the college. Could certainly be rural. You have some situations like Duquesne where it's an urban campus, but it's kind of like its own little bubble being up on the bluff where it's very different from what you have at CMU and Pitt and whatnot. What's the athletic conference that the school belongs to? And then take a look at application deadlines. Is there early action, early decision, maybe rolling decision, rolling admissions, and whatnot? Keep in mind, early action, early decision are two things. Early action is kind of like that group before the main deadline is going to be due. Early decision is more of a binding agreement where if you agree to be that if you are accepted, that is the school that you're going to go to. Application requirements. Are they someone that use Common App? There's schools now are also using what's called the Coalition. Some have a school-specific prompt and application they want you to go to. And is there a cost to the application? One of the documents materials that I've attached for you is the Common App that we have here, call it Common App information, that really kind of outlines a lot of this specific information for you. So if you're taking a look at the Common App document, what this will do, oops, sorry about that, will show you, it's in alphabetical order, but it'll show you a variety of the schools, and I realize you're kind of getting cut off on your screen here a little bit. There we go. Where you can take a look at the school, and you have a lot of information here at the top telling you about early decision and early action and all those things, and whether they're rolling decisions or not. There is a key. This is a large document. There is a key to the chart down at the very bottom on page 37 that kind of explains what all of these things are. But you'll see some things here so far as the application requirements, where is there a fee to the application? So, one of the first ones on here that is Pennsylvania. We have Allegheny College, up in Meadville. It doesn't cost anything for that application. So that might be a reason that you decide to apply to a school. But it'll also tell you, in some cases, it might just say see website, but it'll also tell you what's necessary so far as SAT, ACT scores. So you can again see for Allegheny College, this is one telling us to go to the website, whereas a lot of the other schools will talk about SAT without the essay or ACT without the essay. We do see up here for number 3, if you're going to Alaska Pacific University, you would probably be the first of my students to go there. But not only does it cost $50 for the application fee, but you also have to do the essay for the SAT or the ACT. And some are going to focus on one or the other. And then another thing of information to kind of recognize is what's the expectation when it comes to recommendation letters. So for these here, what you have is they are requiring one teacher evaluation. Some schools are going to want more, as it looks like we have the case here with the American University in Bulgaria. So there you go. They require 2 different teacher recommendations for you. But some will also want to have information from other people besides teachers, and some will also be looking for information from guidance counselors. So this next to last column right here where it says yes means counselor recommendation. So if it has a Y in that next to last column, which you'll see does happen for a fair number of schools, it requires a guidance counselor recommendation. Some of you probably haven't spent a whole lot of time with your guidance counselor, so it would be a good idea to try to certainly reach out to them to kind of let them know who you are if that's not the case. Now, if you are in GATE, you would be able to most likely, I would think, use your GATE teacher. Although for your junior year, many of you in GATE, it's been a little bit of a revolving door when it comes to who your GATE counselor is. So that would be another reason to kind of reach out to specific individuals, whether it be in guidance or other people in GATE who you feel would be able to best, speak for you and recommend you. And then some other things here, so far as the chart that you're going to fill out: the average undergraduate enrollment, percentage of applicants that are accepted, SAT scores, what averages are, and then yearly tuition. And then these last two things, are certainly important to look at. What's one major offered by the school that interests you? A lot of times, students will kind of start rolling off schools and mentioning them, and this is what I want to major in, but they don't always know if that school actually is offering that program. And then what would be some things there beyond the academics that would be of interest for you from an extracurricular standpoint? Whether that be a varsity sport, whether that be a club sport, intramurals, organizations, and things of that. Could be student government, SGA, that you would want to get involved. But what would be some kind of extracurricular activity offered by the school that would be of interest to you? So all of these things you're going to be completing within this chart, and that's ultimately going to get submitted. So that's going to be your first artifact. Your second artifact is taking one of those three schools that you've researched. You're going to go into a little bit more detail with some news articles about the school that are coming from some different categories, be it academics, athletics, or student life or public service. And you're going to write a 250 to 500 word reflection explaining how the information that you have read has reinforced your interest in the school. So there could be a school that maybe was like number 3 on your list, and after reading through it, it's really decided that that's something that you want to take a more focused look at. 250 to 500 words, is going to be about a page and a half. So this isn't an essay. It's not a DRQ or a rhetorical analysis, but it's more of a reflection. You don't have to have quoted citations, but you'll have a works cited page of those articles that you've taken a look at. And we'll talk about some places where you can certainly look for those articles, although library database would be a good place. So before we even get into college essay, it's doing a little bit more groundwork just to make sure you're knowledgeable about some of the schools that you would want to take a look at. In the past, I've had students, we write college essays, we talk about schools, but when it comes to where it is that you're actually going to apply, they're not too knowledgeable about those places. So that's kind of the reason as to why we're going to be taking a look at this in a little bit more detail. All right. Um, then part 2, we're going to get into letters of recommendation. Since you're going to have letters of recommendation, whether it be coming from teachers or it could be from employment, could be guidance counselors, could be other people within the community, whether it be dealing with Boy Scouts or church religious leaders, whatever the case may be, community leaders that you've worked with, going to be looking at letters of recommendation. So what we're going to have you do is to create a personal resume so that you can provide teachers, coaches, whomever, with letters of recommendation. Those who are going to provide your letters of recommendation with insight about you, with a little bit of information about you. So you're going to make sure that your resume includes the following information: obviously name, contact information, summary of academic information, but you're not telling us like every single little detail about what's going on. And then here's where we're going to get into some main things: activities, awards, employment, things of that nature. So this is really where you're kind of highlighting some things about yourself that maybe a teacher does not know, or maybe a coach does not know, or someone else is unaware of. So, you want to try to highlight these things. You're going to make sure that with that resume that you're going to provide the teacher to who you are giving this to, or the other person, a due date for their recommendation letter. You want to make sure that you do not ask for a recommendation letter and then go, I need this as soon as possible, hopefully by the end of the day or even the end of next week. And you certainly want to give a minimum of a 2-week notice of when you're looking for a letter of recommendation. So in order to create a letter of recommendation, you are going to create a resume. And really, a resume tends to be one page with just a little bit of information about yourself. They do have forms, that get distributed in the CRC. Obviously, grabbing those forms right now is not necessarily an easy thing to do. But this is a good way of really kind of taking that next step and creating an own little personal resume for yourself. You may have already done something like this in some business classes and whatnot. You can certainly take an existing resume that you've used or for employment opportunities and tailor it to this. If you haven't created a resume before, now's a good time to start, and this might be something that you continue to build from, into the future. Next thing that you're going to create is what we're going to call a letters of recommendation log, or a letters of rec log, where you are going to list teachers that you plan to ask for a letter, and then any specific requirements that teacher may have, and the date when you're going to ask them for the letter, and the date in which you would like it to be returned or submitted. So, this is when you plan on asking them, this is when you plan on asking for it to be submitted. I know right now things are very hectic, but as it gets towards the end of the school year, if there is a teacher that you would like to write your recommendation letter, it would not be a bad idea to ask them before the end of the school year, and then that might give them the summer, when they can begin to kind of compile it and get it back to you by the beginning of the school year. But basically, you're going to be creating this rec log just as a place to keep track of all materials and requirements that teachers may have. But I would plan on asking for letters from 2 to 4 teachers, coaches, mentors, etc. And as we said, keep in mind that a lot of schools do require a letter from a guidance counselor. So this would be a person that you would certainly want to put on your radar and try to build a relationship with before you ask for a letter of recommendation. If you're not sure how to find out if a teacher has specific requirements for a letter of recommendation, this is where you can send the contact via email. So I've given you a little example here. So basically what you are going to be doing is kind of creating just a log of information. So it's not that everything is going to be completed out yet with this log, because you may not know what all of those teachers' requirements are going to be quite yet at this point. But I certainly want to see that you have a log and you have dates in mind by which you would want to ask someone for a letter. So at the very least, the expectation is you're going to have the log created, and that you are going to have people in mind that you would like to ask. And then have those dates for when you would plan on asking them and when you would want that letter back. But then this would be kind of like a rolling document that you would be able to use in order to kind of keep track of notes and all that kind of stuff. And as I said, as we get to each part of these artifacts and due dates, we'll go over some things in a little bit more detail. The purpose of this is just to kind of give you a general overview. And then the last artifact here is the application essay. And so what you have here are the Common App prompts, numbers 1 through 6, and then number 7 really is kind of like a freebie. If you don't like any of these other prompts, you can use this one. Notice that the Common App essay, it's a maximum of 650 words, so that's really not a lot. If you were just to do like a one-page essay, single-spaced, it would be approximately 650 words. So you are going to choose one of these prompts and write a response, write a college essay, and that's going to get submitted to turn in, and that's going to kind of be like the culminating assignment that we do with the college application project. If you are applying to a school, or you plan to apply to a school that does not use Common App essays, where they have their own essays, by all means, you can substitute that in for these prompts. If you're not sure, which school you're ultimately going to go to, then I think it would make sense, assuming one of them is going to be a Common App school, it would make sense that you do a Common App essay, because chances are you're going to have to use one no matter what. But if you know that you are looking to go to University of Pittsburgh and they are not a common application school and they have their own essay prompts, you can substitute in their prompt. Just make sure you let me know what the prompt is and what the requirement would be so far as a word count, so that I can be aware of that when we're running through your essay. And certainly we'll talk about the Common App essay in a little bit more detail moving forward. We'll go over the do's and don'ts, but these are what the prompts are. So you have 1 through 6 that you can take a look at that certainly are looking at specific aspects about you, whether it be some kind of interest that you have, obstacles that you have encountered, or something that you've kind of challenged, whether it's been a belief or an idea that you have questioned, problem that you've solved, a problem or that you'd like to solve, some kind of accomplishment, realization that you've had, or some kind of topic that you find so engaging that it captivates you. The idea with all of these is that you're trying to present something about yourself that would not otherwise come across in an essay, or excuse me, that would not come across in a transcript, or that would not come across in letters of recommendation. So the essay is the opportunity to showcase something about yourself that colleges, universities would otherwise not be able to know. If you don't see anything with 1 through 6 for the prompts, you can then do one where share an essay or topic of your choice, and it can be one that it says you can be already have written. We're going to be doing something new for here. Sometimes what might happen for prompt number 7 would be where a person describes where a student describes a person who's had a lasting impact on him or her. That sometimes will be something that people substitute. I would shy away from that because you want the focus of your college application essay to be about yourself. So I think numbers 1 through 6 here would certainly work. Although, as I said, if you are applying to a school that does not use Common App, they might have some of their own essays that they require, at which point we can take a look at those. All right. So down the road, know that the idea is most of you are going to be responding to questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. but we'll be doing some legwork to kind of lead up to that application essay. So if you're not sure where you want to go to school quite yet, this would be the time to kind of start thinking about it. Think of those three schools, do some research for it, and then certainly this can find out as to, okay, what kind of essay are you going to do? Because if you find out that for application requirements, none of the schools are doing a common app, then it would make sense that you'd be writing about an essay that is going to be much more school specific. All right. Um, if you have any questions, let me know. Again, I'll be going into more detail about all of the components, but I just wanted to make sure that you had an idea as to what we're going to be doing with this college application project. It's not something that's going to be due, by the end of the week or next week, but something that we will certainly be breaking down in stages. So first thing is going to be artifact number one. Start thinking about the schools that you'd be interested in and locating information about those, and we'll certainly hopefully see what kind of schools you have and go from there. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care. Any questions you have about this project, by all means, let me know. Even though the college essay itself is going to be something that's going to be due down the road, you do have 2 more videos to watch this week about the do's and don'ts of the college essay, because I want you to be thinking about that essay, even though that due date is not in the immediate future. So still make sure you check out those videos this week so that you can kind of begin to prepare for that. All right. Hope everyone's doing well, and I will hopefully see you later. Bye-bye.